starting?
Yes. Brotherly Love, A Tale of Dragon Precinct by Keith R.A. DeCandido.
As read by?
As read by Keith R.A. DeCandido and Wrenn Simms. Yes, sorry. About time someone came in here. I've been going crazy waiting here for... Honestly, I haven't heard the time chime, so I guess it hasn't been an hour, but it feels like longer. I'm sorry, I'm babbling. I'm just so stunned by what happened.
Sorry, Mr. Maith. I'm Lieutenant Danthres Tresyllione. We just need to ask you a few questions about your sister.
I guess so. I have arrangements that need to be made, and I need to get to them, but I suppose this is to help you find out who killed her?
What arrangements might those be?
Are you at all familiar with the teachings of Gandura, Lieutenant?
One of my fellow detectives worships Gandura, but I'm afraid I haven't paid close attention to the nuances of your faith.
We have to bury Gertha within 2 days of her death.
And why is that?
Excuse me?
I assume there's a reason why Gandura worshippers such as yourselves bury the body within such a specific time frame.
Oh! Well, you see, after 2 days, the body starts to decay. It is no longer recognizable as a person. It is best to bury your loved ones while they still look like themselves.
It is my experience, Mr. Maith, that dead bodies look nothing like living ones, more or less from the moment they die. But it doesn't matter. At the moment, your sister's corpse is with our magical examiner, and it's being kept in stasis by a spell. Until he releases it from that spell, it won't decompose. We can't release the body until our investigation into her death is complete, at which point you will be able to bury her.
I mean, that's not what the texts say.
You just said that the rule was so that the person could be buried before they decompose. I assume those texts were written more than 9 years ago?
Oh, yes, of course.
That explains it. The preservation spell didn't exist then. RME, Bonin, first developed it shortly after you started working with us.
But the texts say...
So slavishly following the words of the text is more important than actually fulfilling the wishes of your god. I shouldn't be surprised given what Grovis has told us about Gandura.
You know the Grovis family?
I'm sorry, Mr. May, but we're getting away from the point of this interview, and I believe you said you were in a hurry.
Yes, of course. I'm sorry, I'm just beside myself. But I believe I know who might well have done it.
And who is that?
His name's Elgin. He's been working as a clerk at our store, and Gertha took up with him not that long ago. To be honest, Lieutenant, I never really liked him. He always struck me as, well, suspicious. I tried to warn Gertha about him, but she wouldn't listen to me. People in love tend to be stubborn, I've noticed.
Let's back up a moment, Mr. Maith. Now, you and your sister both run the Maith Tailor Shop on Stone Path.
Yes, we opened the place 6 years ago. It's been very profitable, too. Most of the finest outfits worn by the Lord and Ladies' Court came from our shop.
I'm sure. Did you last see your sister at the store?
No, we had a large meeting of our congregation at the Cliffs End Church of Gandura over on Galvin Hill. In fact, come to think of it, I believe the Grovis family was there too.
Yes. Lieutenant Grovis did mention it, and my partner and I have spoken with many of the other attendees. If they verified your story.
My story? I'm confused, Lieutenant. If you already knew I was there, why did you ask if I last saw my sister at the store? Oh no. Oh, for Gandura's sake. You're treating me like... I can't even say it out loud.
In the early stages of the death investigation, Mr. Maith, I found it simpler to just assume that everyone is a suspect until I'm given reason to think otherwise. So you had this church meeting. At what time did it break up?
Let me think. The time chimes had just rung 23 when we left the church. I said goodnight to Gertha, and she went to her home, and I to mine.
Did anyone see you go to your home?
Everyone did.
And you went straight home?
Of course.
To your house on Maple Path?
Yes.
That would be, what, half an hour's walk?
I suppose so, yes.
In fact, your house fairy said that you were home half an hour before midnight.
Huh. Of course, I hadn't even thought of that. Checking with the house fairy? I very rarely see her just set out the milk and the charms and let her do her work. Still, I didn't even consider that she could be a witness to my arrival home. That's very clever, Lieutenant.
I'm actually surprised, Mr. Matt. In general, Gandura worshippers don't employ house fairies.
Well, there's no prescription against it. We're not Masons, you know. But I've found that she keeps the place neat. Besides, she came with the house.
I see. Now, what was your relationship with your sister?
Oh, quite excellent. We've been running a successful business for years. I mean, yes, there were arguments, and There have been some financial difficulties. I mean, it's one of those, well, slumps that one goes through, I guess.
My partner spoke with one of your clerks, and he said something that surprised me. He said that you used to have a wizard in your employ?
Yes, we did.
Why didn't you mention this wizard?
Because he is not in our employ any longer.
And because your store isn't licensed by the Brotherhood of Wizards.
Well, there's nothing for them to license, Lieutenant. Truly, we investigated it quite thoroughly, and such a license was not required because we don't actually sell any magic or magical items.
But this wizard did enhance your goods.
Not exactly. You see, the process by which we make our clothing hasn't changed, but what Fenric did was speed up the process considerably. We were able to fulfill orders much faster. Then
what?
Look, I don't wish to speak ill of Gertha now that she's gone, but, well, she broke his heart.
I'm sorry?
Before she got involved with Elgin, she was seeing Fenric, the wizard.
What does seeing him mean exactly in this context?
They were romantically involved. Mind you, they only kissed. Gandora looks poorly upon premarital fornicating.
And the Brotherhood of Wizards looks poorly upon their mages getting romantically involved.
Yes, I know. That was the excuse Gertha gave for why she didn't stay with them. But the thing is, after she ended the relationship, he left the store. And then we weren't able to deliver as quickly, and...
You lost customers.
Well, yes, we did. And that was a source of tension, yes, and of that slump I mentioned, but...
Do you think that Fenric might have killed your sister?
Well, I suppose it's possible. But, well, he's a wizard. I saw Gertha's body. She was hit very hard with a shovel. Wizards don't generally hit people with shovels, in my experience.
In my experience, Mr. Maith, they don't generally get intimate with non-mages, either. So you don't find Fenric to be a credible suspect?
I'm afraid not. No, I still think it had to be Elgin. She was with him after she left the church meeting, you know.
Was she? That's interesting.
Well, he is a suspect, isn't he?
As it says, Mr. Maith, in the early stages, everyone is.
Well, this might help you out then. They were arguing.
What about?
I'm afraid I only caught a few bits and pieces here and there. But one thing I remember very clearly, Elgin said, "I can't believe you do this to me after all I've sacrificed to be with you." I have to admit, I found that rather, well, odd.
Why is that, Mr. Maith?
He's just a clerk. A broke one at that. He's worked some odd jobs all over Cliff's End. When we interviewed him, he told us that he had no family. I just don't understand what someone like him could possibly have given up. Oh, and another thing. Part of his job is to clean the area around the store, and he generally uses a shovel for that.
And why is that relevant, Mr. Maith?
Well, you said before that Gertha was killed with a shovel.
Actually, Mr. Maith, I said no such thing.
Excuse me?
You said that Gertha was killed with a shovel. And that's actually rather fascinating, because you said you knew that based on seeing the body.
No, I didn't. You told me.
I most certainly did not. No. I saw the body, and while it's obvious that your sister was hit very hard on the side of the head with something, it is impossible to tell, just from seeing the body, what that something was. Yet here you are, definitively saying that it was a shovel. Plus, there's also the matter of your house fairy.
What about her?
Initially, yes, she said that you got home before midnight, until she changed her story, and told us that you arrived home shortly after the time chimes rang midnight, and that you gave her extra milk to tell anyone who asks that you arrived home at 23 and a half. The Fays are tricksters, Mr. Maith, but direct falsehoods tend to disquiet them. You never should have told her to tell a lie.
All right. I'm sorry. Truly, I didn't go straight home, and I did follow Gertha, but from a distance. I know that she was hit with a shovel, and I'm so sure that Elgin's the murderer because I saw him do it.
Did you now?
Yes.
And why didn't you say that in the first place?
Because if I told you that I was there, you'd assume I did it.
And yet you didn't tell me, and I assume that anyhow.
I'm telling you now, please, Lieutenant, this is very difficult. Don't you understand? I watched my sister get killed. It was horrible.
Please, Mr. Maith, tell me what you saw when you followed your sister home.
I kept my distance, since I didn't want them to know I was following. That's why I only caught snatches of conversation, like that bit about sacrificing. Gertha has a porch behind her house that's one story up from the ground. After she and Elgin went inside, they went out onto it. I came around and listened from under the porch. I heard them argue, and then I heard just an awful sound. I ran out from under the porch to see him standing over her, holding a shovel in his hand, and then he turned and ran away.
Why didn't you stay and help your sister?
Honestly, Lieutenant, my only thought was to wring Elgin's neck. I ran after him, chased him all the way to Mirka Way, but then I lost him in the crowds. Even around midnight, Mirka is fairly well packed.
What did you do after you lost him?
Well, by the time I got back to Goethe's house, several guardsmen were already present, and I panicked. I thought people would think I killed her, so I went home, bribed the house fairy, and then your people came to talk to me.
I see. It's an interesting story you tell, Mr. Maytham. Very enlightening.
It's not a story, Lieutenant. It's the truth.
Is it? You see, your sister was killed at 23 and a half, exactly the time you told your house fairy to say that you were home. And there are 24 witnesses who can place Elgin at the Dog and Duck from the 23:15 all the way till they closed at 3.
That can't be right. Those people must be lying.
I suppose it's possible that 23 drunkards and one sober bartender might all be lying, but it's been my experience that it's more likely the one person is lying, especially when that person has already committed bribery to create an alibi.
It had to be Elgin. I saw it. I would never kill Goethe, not ever. She's my sister. Yes, I wanted her to stop seeing that idiot clerk and try to patch things up with Fenric, but that's just because I wanted her to be happy, and, all right, yes, because business would pick up, but, damn it.
Actually, Mr. Maith, you've already given me a very good reason why it can't be Elgin.
What do you mean?
You said it yourself. A wizard would never hit somebody with a shovel.
I'm sorry?
You see, Mr. Maith, your sister did not end her relationship with Fenric. Exactly. The Brotherhood of Wizards was very strict guidelines regarding what you Gandora worshippers quaintly refer to as fornication. They gave Fenric a choice, end his relationship with Goethe and Matt Maith, or continue it, but renounce his magic. He chose the second option.
What?
Elgin was Fenric. The sacrifice you heard him talking about was giving up his life as a mage in order to be with her.
That can't be. It can't. Just can't.
Actually, it can.
I just wanted her to be happy.
She was happy until you killed her. And now you're going to spend the rest of your life in the hole. We should only be a week or two until the magistrate condemns you to death.
Why didn't they tell me?
Because they didn't imagine you'd do something so insane as to kill your sister.
I didn't mean to, but she kept telling me that she'd found true love with that stupid clerk, and suddenly I had the shovel and...
And then you ran home, bribed your house fairy, and concocted your idiotic story about Elgin. And now you're going to die.
Why are you enjoying this so much, Lieutenant?
Because today I've done my job. I speak for the people who can't speak for themselves, and right now your sister is speaking out for justice, which I'm delivering. Guard, take the shit brain to the hole.
Shit brain go down the hole.
Shit brain go down the hole. Shit brain go down the hole.
Yes, we are goofy. Thank you very much for watching.